You have processes that you guys already have in place throughout Alloy where I don't have to recreate it.
Right.
So, and that was an important decision on going to a franchise. And from that, I didn't want to start a brand new business from scratch and having to do all that because I remembered how hard that was, how long it took me to perfect those processes. So it's much easier just running the playbook.
Scott Weaver, what's up, buddy?
Not too much, man. Just here for training.
I know.
Having a lot of fun back there, getting the director all ready to go.
I know. I like it. I'm glad you're here because a lot of times the second go round, the owner's like, I'll just send my crew. So for those of you guys that are listening or watching, Scott's on his second Alloy. So he's brought his director and getting ready to open his second location in Cincinnati area, right?
That's right. North Cincinnati.
That's right. So anyway, I thought I'd get him in here because he's been a successful entrepreneur before, and now he's in Alloy. So I just want to, it's always fun to talk business just in general because I think it's the general principles, and then there's like specific things to each brand or type of business, right? Do you agree?
Very true. Very true. And it's a lot different going from something that you start all by yourself to then injecting yourself into a franchise.
I can't wait to talk about it. I can't because it's interesting, right? It's like that would be like if I went. I always say now, if I was going to do another business, I wouldn't start it from scratch because it's such a pain. I would just buy a franchise, and then all you got to do is like put your entrepreneurial spirit into people, That was
my thoughts exactly.
Okay. Well, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Mine's think alike.
I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, that's okay.
All right. So do you have a dad joke, though?
I do have a dad joke.
All right, fire away.
Why don't skeletons fight?
Why?
They don't have the guts.
I love that. Oh, did you hear about the hipster who burned his mouth drinking coffee?
I didn't.
Yeah, he drank it before it's cool. I always think coffee shops, skinny jeans, fixie bikes, the whole scene,
definitely.
Right? That was a thing for a while.
Have you ever watched Portlandia?
Oh, yeah.
They do those little skits.
Dude, that was one of the first ones I watched is because they used to go crazy over like, is this free range chicken? Have you ever seen that one where the waiter comes over and he's like,
yeah, they're asking him
I'm sorry, is this chicken free range? Yeah. He goes, okay, what was his name? What was his life like? And she's like, well, he had 2 acres to roam on. And he's like, can we go visit the property just before ordering a piece of chicken? It's so true, man. It's so weird. Well, look, I do think you have an interesting background. So tell me, anything professionally or whatever that you want to share. I just would love for people to hear, like, again, here's the profile of someone who's on their second location. You've been an entrepreneur, which is a bit unique, but why don't you just explain your overall background?
Yeah. So actually, I like to tell people I kind of just fall into things. It's just kind of how things happen for me. So I at the start of my business, actually, I had a partner. And so we did everything. We did all kinds of different remodeling projects. Concrete was just kind of part of that. Mm-hmm. And we were getting more and more into it. And we just got to a point where we couldn't get along. It got kind of nasty.
How long ago was this, if you don't mind me asking?
This was in 2016, 17, I
okay.
believe.
All right.
So
just the two of you were the partners?
Yeah, it was just the two of us. I kind of ran the day-to-day operations. He helped with marketing and financing it and stuff like that. So it just got to the point to where it just got really nasty. I showed up one day and he had the fences locked. And I just so happened to have all the concrete stuff in the back of my truck because we had just done a concrete job. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, you go through like, what do I do now? All those type of things. And, fast forward, after trying to work it out, it didn't. So I said, you know what? Keep all my tools, keep everything. I'll just start over and I'll just do concrete, right?
Right.
Kind of like a, stick it to the man type of thing.
That's all right. I get it.
So I started my concrete business. I found a niche in doing stamped, and then just got better and better at it. And I found that there was a real good niche in there where my competition was somebody in a beat up truck, not dressed real well, right? So I could kind of perfect that, streamline that process a lot better, show up clean cut. With a polo on or whatever the case might be.
Nice.
Right?
And that's not usual in that business?
It's not usual in that business, no. They'll show up, they'll be, write stuff down. Oh, yeah, I think that'd be about $10,000, right? Whereas I put a process to that too. Like, what does it actually cost? What are profit margins? They don't know those things. So I kind of put a business model to that business to help me going. That's just how my brain works. So we fell into the COVID thing, and my business just skyrocketed.
Yeah, I was about to say, any kind of home services or construction like blew up, right?
Yeah. So I kind of just fell into it, got a little lucky, but I'd also like to say that I created some of that luck by being prepared for it. Had that happened back in 2015 or 14 or earlier, I wouldn't have been prepared and ready.
Yeah, if you didn't have the systems, it wouldn't have held the scale, right? It would have just crushed you.
Yeah. So at the beginning, it was pretty rough. I had to put a system to everything and kind of figure things out, figure out how to be an entrepreneur all by myself. So, but I was old enough and mature enough to finally, be able to figure that out. Have the tools there that just had to put them to work. So.
And you had a family at that point too. So you have tell us about like how many kids you have. And
so we have 3 kids. We're in a mixed family. So my oldest is 22, who now works with us at Alloy. He's the head coach.
Yep, I met him at last training.
Yeah. He's completely different. Lost a lot of weight. Kind of got out of his shell. He loves doing it.
That's awesome.
He's actually starting to help with sales. So we're really progressing him a little bit at a time. So
that's cool, man.
Real proud of where he was and where he is now, both personality wise and with getting his NASM certificate and all that kind of stuff. So,
I mean, he takes the initiative. You give him the vehicle. It's like that's the way it's supposed to work. So good job.
Yeah.
So 22 years old and 2 more.
22 years old, and so I have 2 more. They're both 16. So my wife and I now, we met at daycare. So that's why they're the same age.
All right.
But they both used to be pretty blonde hair, and so we get a lot, are they twins? So after a while we got tired of explaining it, we're like, yeah, they're twins.
Right, yeah.
So, they're both juniors now. They're both getting their cars and their driver's license and things like that. So
So at that point, in that 2016, 15, when you were going through all that, you had a family to support.
I had a young family to support at that time. Yeah.
Right.
So I had good support from my wife at the time. So that was key. We had just moved into our new house too at that time when we started this.
Nothing like pressure.
Yeah. So it was kind of like burn the bridges. You got to go all out. You have to do it.
Yep.
So I did it, and I worked my butt off. There were days where I had to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week, all 7 days to get the business up and going where I needed it to be successful. So,
but you did it.
I did it. I grinded it out.
Yep.
And got there. And then, like I said, we just kept doing more and more customized stamped work that nobody else was doing at the time. And just kind of kept blowing up and blowing up. So, at one time we had 2 crews going. I started buying all my equipment, owned everything outright. I didn't take out any loans.
Wow.
Just did it all from grassroots scratch.
Crazy. It's funny. We have somebody coming to speak at conference, and she's getting her PhD in resilience, which is psychology, but she really specializes in resilience, and she thinks that's like the number one key for entrepreneurship. And I think it's like when I hear your story, my wheels are spinning. It's like, boy, how many times have we had hiccups in our business where it's like, it was close, where you're like, can I even do this? Or, you know what I mean? And the ability to show up and have your gate locked as an example and be like, well, I've got concrete stuff in my truck. I'll just double down and just specialize and niche down into concrete, right? But that's a pivot, right? Like you have to be resilient to have a problem and not just be like, you could have been, oh crap, my life's over and gone straight to the bar, right? And just,
you do go through that, but it's.
I'm not saying I didn't swing by a bar.
I didn't say I didn't do that. Yeah. So, I'm the type of personality where I go through those things very, very quickly. I grieve very fast.
Right.
Get over it, move on. I was taught, you can't cry. Like go rub dirt momentum on it and go.
Yep.
So.
Well, and that's the resilience part I'm talking about, right? And I think that's key for any entrepreneur. So you thankfully have the wiring through trial and error and, again, just bruises and scabs and scars, right, that you've built to be a good entrepreneur. Now that you've opened your first Alloy, even that, you get out of the gate, it's a little lumpy, but then you dig in and figure it out, which is every business, right? It's kind of like, hey, we go here, we go there. Now you guys are jamming. Going to second location, what kind of similarities do you see between the concrete business and now running Alloys?
There's a bunch of similarities and differences, but I'll pick a couple of my favorites. One is in both businesses, you have to streamline every single process, right? So there's not like a quoting system in the concrete business that you can just buy and get into. I had to create that from scratch. So I programmed an Excel file where all you have to do is put in your dimensions, and it spits out every piece of material that you need, how much of that material, the price of that material, and it brings you a price down at the bottom, and you just change your profit margin and kind of work it from that. Labor, everything was included. So doing it that way versus sitting down and doing 2-hour long quotes every time and thinking about it and making sure before you send it to the customer, now I can just do it in 5-10 minutes and get it out. So instead of working 80 hours, I cut that down to 70. Right.
Just SOPs, right? It's like, here's a process that I'm going to do to run a quote.
Exactly. So you have processes that you guys already have in place throughout Alloy, whether it's the way the trainers work or different things that are already set in place through guides and stuff like that, where I don't have to recreate it.
Right.
So, and that was an important decision on, going to a franchise, and from that, I didn't want to start a brand new business from scratch and having to do all that, because I remembered how hard that was, how long it took me to perfect those processes. So it's much easier just running the playbook.
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, I know it sounds like self-serving, but I do say, like, if I was getting into a different business now, I would just do a franchise. Like, I'm happy to let you create all the stuff, and like for us, 3 decades in doing it, right? Like if I was getting into the concrete business and you were franchising, I'm like, I'm just going to buy a franchise. Just run the play, right? Yeah. What about people? Like, I'm not sure. I haven't been in the concrete business, so I don't know how important people are there. They're very important in Alloy. Is there any similarities there in managing people?
There are. The labor force is very different. I will say that, but it's the same in terms of you got to check everything. You got to stay on top of it. I will say the difference there is you don't have to check on it as deeply. So this is a model where you can be semi-absentee. Mm-hmm. You can check on numbers. You can spot check people doing training and things like that. Concrete's like an infant. You can't leave it.
So
one
you really
mistake
need to be,
and you're ripping the whole thing out, right?
Oh yeah.
So you got to be there. That's one of the things that I didn't like was I got to be there all the time, every time. Even though I'm not at the latter part, I wasn't doing the work myself. I still had to make sure they weren't messing
quality
it up,
control,
right?
Whatever that is.
If you get down and you start stamping and you get on it too late, by the time you stamp to the other side, you might completely lose it where the stamp's not taken to the concrete. The whole thing's coming out.
Right.
So it's very expensive. Everything's very vital. So you have to streamline that process, right? That's the same. So those would be the similarities. And
so you don't have to manage it. It's funny. Like we try to redefine semi-absentee, and I saw a good definition of it recently where it was like, listen, in an Alloy, you don't have to go in and like service revenue. Like you don't have to take all of the sales calls, but you better know if the person taking them is hurting your business, right? Like you need to measure, and you don't have to go service revenue, but you need to understand how, if it's not being delivered well, how that's going to affect your retention, which is your revenue. And so we often say, like, you don't have to go in there and service revenue, but you better know how to fix your business in 4 or 5 text messages, right? So you just have to understand the levers that, like, what really drives the business, right?
Yeah.
Sell the new people, take care of the flock, right? And there's a lot that goes into that, but that's basically what we look at. So you're right. When I think of semi-absentee, I'm like, that doesn't mean that like you hire somebody and they do everything. Like here's an example. You're here at training this week. Granted, you've exited your concrete business, so you've got time. But Matt was telling me, I think you and your new director have closed like 12 starting points, just like you did it the other evening, right? You just followed up with some leads that you had before. You're only now getting to training, and you already followed up with some leads and booked like 12 starting point sessions. So you're involved, even though you're not in the business, literally every day. Is that fair?
That's fair. So I kind of wanted to make sure that she had everything before I kick her out of the nest and let her fly. So we've been doing everything together. It's a little bit more of a hands-on approach, but that goes for any of my people. I don't ask anybody to do anything that I'm not willing to do or that I don't do myself. So I will go to the gyms. Yes, I'm checking on cleanliness. I'm checking on these things. But there's been times where I've showed up and I've changed garbage. I've cleaned up. I've stopped by and helped. Just to show them that I'm willing to do it too. I'm not just there just demanding everybody to do it. I want it to be a family type of a business. So I would say, forgot where I was going with that.
Typical entrepreneur. It's like, I had another idea that came with another idea.
Yeah, and then
I do all the time. Like, what was I talking about? I don't even know. So similarities. We talked about like people, right? And like what kind of leader like an alloy needs. I hate that term, by the way, like semi-absentee. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use it, but like I think it gives people the impression like absentee. Like we had a guy in to the last Discovery Day, and he owns like 4 or 5 restaurants, and then he's like, yeah, during COVID we couldn't be open, so we, people could smoke weed, so we opened some dispensaries. And kind of a guy like you, right? It's like, hey, life gives you this, fine, you roll up your sleeves, switch gears, go here, right?
Yeah.
And he's done that as well. And we were standing in the facility, which we always start over there, and he's like, hey, let me ask you a question. He's like, somebody said like you can be an absentee owner. He's like, is that even true? I've never owned a business where you can be fully absentee. I'm like, yeah, this isn't like a real estate syndicate or like self-storage investment. I mean, it's a living, breathing entity.
Yeah.
So I think the level of engagement from an owner gets confusing sometimes. So maybe give us an idea, how much time did you have to spend in the business maybe at the start versus now? And I'm talking about like a single location. And sure, I'd love to have you back on when you've got 5 locations open. Then we can talk about you got a regional in place. And what was that day in the life of? I think it gets a little bit easier, as you learn to do it. But what would you say day in the life of as an owner? How involved do you need to be? Certainly at the start.
At the start, I was really involved. So I was there every day, meeting, greeting new members, that type of thing, making sure everybody had what they needed as far as marketing materials, taking them out to show them how I wanted them to do it, making sure that they were talking to several different businesses, things like that, the sales process, making sure they had that perfected, making sure we were on top of objections and things like that. So I'd say at the beginning, I was there almost every day.
Right.
And if I wasn't there, I was behind the scenes doing marketing or
checking leads and all the things.
Checking stuff. Yeah. Checking the.
And you can run everything mobily, so you can see what's going on in the business, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You can from your phone. I don't particularly like everything doing that because I want to get away from that stupid thing a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
So I try to get on the computer a little bit more. It's, a little bit easier to use anyways. So I'll do that. But checking your numbers. So as it grows and you kind of step back out of that a little bit more and more, you make sure that the processes that are in place are just used correctly, right? They're going through their morning checklists. They're going through their evening checklists from that. You have the director checking the employees for are they, going into their sessions and looking at all the different, programs and stuff for the different people, what their limitations are and things like that. He does that, and then I can just check on the higher level stuff of what's going on into the gym.
Perfect.
And then once you get up and running, it changes again because then you're looking at revenue, you're looking at those different indicators, stuff like that, how long it's going to take for some of these people to get off of their founder rate discounts.
Right.
How do I pivot from that point? How do I deal with the credit card transaction fees? Do we charge for that? Do we not?
Right.
There's a bunch of questions there that you look at and you kind of start digging into because you now have time to do it. But if you let your foot off of that gas and you don't do those things and you're like, oh, this is absentee, your numbers and everything's going to start going back down.
I would say that's been the biggest challenge in our brand, and it might even be our fault, if I'm honest, early on, maybe setting the wrong expectation, because it's different to look at a business that you've had for 3 or 4 years, than it can be if you get the right people in the right seats and you're managing things well and you figure out where the levers are and like where the main things, and it just takes a minute, even though we tell you what they are, it takes a minute to get your head around it. I think we look at it through that lens. So it's really simple, and it is pretty simple, right? But it's just not easy. It's like weight loss.
Right.
Like, you know what to do, but doing it consistently well every day, never letting up, to your point, don't take your foot off the gas. That's difficult, right?
Yeah.
For sure. But there's some similarities. I mean, obviously there's nuanced differences in concrete or whatever, but you still got to hold your people accountable. You still got to know what makes money, what's the engine, measure, right? Same type of thing. Would you agree?
Yeah, you're still forecasting everything. You're still looking ahead as an entrepreneur. Where's my business going? Where's my cash flow at? That type of thing. And you're just constantly thinking ahead for it, right? That's the business thing that you guys you can't really tell me that part of it. Like, that's my thing inside. I got to stay within the walls of Alloy, of course, but I have to keep thinking ahead and I have to keep doing those things. I can ask you guys and you can give me pointers and help and things like that, but those are the pieces that you have to apply to it and stay focused on your business so that you know what's going on at all times.
Yeah. And I mean, we often say this, it's kind of obvious to, again, an entrepreneur, but like, it's your business.
Yeah.
Like we give you a bicycle, but it's pretty well built, but you have to get on it and
You're not
pedal
going to
it.
ride it for me.
Right, exactly. I'm not going to pedal it tandem style. You're in the back just reading a book and I'm pedaling up front. It's like, that'd be nice.
Even if it's electric, I still got to plug it in. I still got to do things with it to get it on the road and start riding it. I got to balance it. I got to do all those things. So you definitely give us all the tools. So, and
Appreciate
we just have to apply it.
Yeah, it's so fun sitting down to talk to someone who has created something from scratch, and you're like, I'm not doing that again. I'm like, I wouldn't do it again either. Really, I'm glad we're here. Wouldn't do it again. What got you interested in Alloy? Did you have a background in fitness? Do I remember that?
Yeah. So actually, when I was 19, I got into the business. Shout out to Matt Waller. He's the one that got me into that FitWorks and started selling memberships. So that was always fun. I had a young family at that time, my firstborn, and it just the time that they take from you is just too much. But I loved helping people and I loved the industry. I've played sports since I was 5 years old, always in the weight room, loved that piece of it. So the industry just didn't at that time work out for me.
Sure.
So when I had the concrete business, I was actually going to just buy one and have it as just a diversification of the portfolio, right? Have another business. So I looked at a bunch of different businesses and kind of created a checklist for what I was wanting, and then just kept coming back to fitness. I was like, all right. And there was like you guys and two other ones that I was looking at, and I was like, you know what? I don't want like a gimmick. I want something that stands the test of time. When I went in, the gimmick was cycling classes they started putting into the big box gyms. You could do cardio with the while you watch a movie.
Yes.
That was a fad. Now you don't see that anymore, right? So you can see these things and you're like, that's what I don't want, because long term, I'm going to lose my business.
Yeah, you had a 10-year agreement.
Money.
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
So I wanted something that can stand the test of time. And so I found Alloy, obviously, and I made a checklist on the business side, and I made a checklist on like, what is the actual, like, what are they telling people? What are they doing, right? So the message. And so you guys just checked off every box. So my wife and I came down to meet you guys and everything, and I met you, and I was like, this guy's genuine. He's great.
Appreciate that.
The gym business you can find different people, I would say, where you're just like, I don't want to have anything to do with these people.
Right.
Right? Like they can sell ketchup to a person in white gloves, but not in a very ethical way.
Correct.
And so I didn't get that feeling at all. And so fast forward, we were flying back home, and my wife's like, "You're awful quiet. What are you thinking about over there?" And I'm just like running through numbers in my mind. I'm like, I think we should do 2 of these. What do you think?
Yeah, good for you.
And so she was like, I liked it. She's like, actually, yeah, this is great. I didn't expect that answer from her.
Right.
So we got off the plane and like, all right, I guess we're open to 2 of these things. So
I'm glad you are.
She's like, can we afford it? I'm like, yeah, we got it. Don't worry about it. We can do it. I wouldn't have brought it up if we couldn't.
Right.
We're good. We can pivot. So part of that was like, okay, this is going to be difficult if I have this concrete business and I have these 2 gyms. Never owned a gym before. This is, a little bit scary at that point. And so I'm getting, going through, and we're looking for the new location and everything. And I just happened to fall into somebody offering to buy my business from me. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is perfect. Like, why am I doing? I don't financially have to do this anymore. And I have this other thing that I'm starting should be easier, right? Compared to concrete anyways, in my perspective. So I was able to do that in transition, and while I was getting that other club up and going, or the first club up and going.
So, well, props to you. I know it's very difficult the percentage of entrepreneurs that actually build something and exit, and you did it in a relatively short time period. COVID timing or not, man, props to you. There's such a small percentage of people. Everybody wants to do it. So few people can actually do it. And I guarantee you it's probably the same reason you get a higher multiple if you sold your franchise locations than if you were just like Scott's Gyms, right? Because there is a system powering it. So your spreadsheet, your SOPs that you built around the business, that's really what you're selling, right? You're selling your customer base, sure, but it's like you're selling a turnkey business model that you had to build process for, where you just hand over the playbook.
Yep.
I remember I probably botched this story, but I had a friend that was in he built custom homes, and he could build a certain amount per year. And he was older at this point, and his dad was in the business with him, and they were like, oh, they're just winding this thing down, right? And he was older too, so he's ready to retire. So they were just going to sell it, right? And they had relatively low, decent profits, maybe like $300K for the year. That's not bad, but it's a pretty big business. And so, he took it to market. He was going to get a smaller multiple, right? Like a 3 multiple or something, which is fair, for most businesses of profit. And then, he went and he looked at all the expenses, and he was like, all right, well, before we take it to market, let's look at some ways we can tidy things up. Like, can we start with one of our custom homes and then reverse engineer the process, right? And then let's figure out the more expensive pieces of it, like the construction loan interest and all these things. So if we could shorten the time from, engagement to getting the thing built, right? Could we build more houses in a year, and could we do it more efficiently? And so he basically wrote a playbook of this reverse engineering process, probably a lot like what you did in your concrete business. Held on to it for another year, took it back to market, had profits now of $500K, but got like a 10 multiple. And really always calls it like my $10 million book, right? Because he didn't have a lot of SOPs in place. Once he built those, he could turn around and just hand it to somebody and they could run the play, right? Yeah. So very hard to do though, right? And that's probably what you sold, right? It's a great business. You carved out a niche, but you built a process, and you sold look, you got to run the thing. We talked about pedaling the bike, put a business in a box. Is that true?
I would agree almost exactly what he did. So when I first started out, I had to do everything, right? And sometimes all by myself. I could only do one patio in maybe a week and a couple of days, right? So how do you shorten that to get more in? So concrete in Cincinnati only lasts from maybe March, April, if you're lucky, around to October, because then you got the winter time, and you really shouldn't be doing stamped concrete. People do it, but you shouldn't do stamped concrete in the wintertime. So on top of all this, I'm off for 6 months or whatever.
Very
winter.
seasonal, yeah.
So you have to get everything you can in that summer so that you can survive through the wintertime. So how do I increase that? So you're looking at, 33 weeks or so that you have. So that is 33 jobs or less, because I can only get so many. So how do I increase that to 100? So I obviously hiring people, that's part of it, but there has to be a process. So then I got to getting it done in a week. You got a lot of moving parts going on, right? You got gravel, you got the skid steers you got to get into place. You got all this stuff you got to tear out whatever's there and dump it somewhere. So it just takes time. So I was able to streamline that down to now we're able to do 2 in a week.
There you go.
So that's kind of how I did it. Pretty much exactly how he did it. Was just kind of streamline it. Okay, this doesn't work. I got to put this here. Just kind of build it and keep perfecting it along the way.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, what do you like about being in Alloy? I mean, it's such a different business. So what are the positives of Alloy versus the concrete business?
Well, one, I don't have to be outside all day in the heat. It's 90 degrees and you're lifting heavy bags, or you finishing concrete. It can get really hot.
Yeah.
You get sunburnt. Your face starts looking like leather. So, that part of it, not having to deal with some of the people or things that happen and stuff like that. Nothing is catastrophic. Right. So
did you feel like it was more so in concrete? Like if something went sideways, it was like the whole thing was blown.
Pretty much. You have to either cut out half of it, or you're taking out the whole thing, or you have a very angry customer and you got to reverse all that. Mm-hmm. Right. The other piece of the puzzle is I never really felt like I was helping people. Mm-hmm. Like no one needs a stamped patio. Sometimes, your driveway's messed up, or you kind of have to do it. Right. But you're not really helping somebody really. So the sense of purpose wasn't there. Mm. So that's one of the main drivers in getting back to fitness is we're helping people. Whether that's just being able to get up and move around, sometimes play with their grandchildren a little bit, where it's not on their mind that they're going to be tired all day or painful the next day because they did all that. You're really helping them, or helping them lose weight, whatever their thing is, whatever their goals are and why they want to do it. You're helping them get there. So I would say having a sense of purpose, it just makes me happier, which it has to exude through into my everyday life. I'm sure if you ask my wife, I'm probably a heck of a lot happier every day, right? It's easier to go and kind of put on the show is what I call it. When you go into the gym and you're smiling with people,
slapping backs, kissing babies, right?
It's not so much of me putting on a show. It's just me being me.
Love it. Yeah, because that's just the way you're wired. Like we always say, like, listen, franchising's it's an interesting relationship between franchisor and franchisee. Some of the franchisees you meet, it's amazing. Like a guy like you, like, would I want to go hang out with you on the weekend, have a beer? Yes, 100%, right? Everyone in the brand, maybe, but like definitely you. There's some that you're like, I like this dude, funny, same sense of humor. And I mean, shared, traits and qualities and core values is really important. But it's funny you say purpose, because I would say to a person that comes to Discovery Day, I don't know if you remember that stage, but we go around the room. It's like, okay, what have you been doing? Why Alloy? And what's something unique about you? But everyone says purpose. Like, I had this other job, I did really well at it, or I had to own this other business, but couldn't really figure out what I was doing for people. This one is so on the nose with helping folks. And have you found it to be as gratifying as you thought it would be? Does that make sense? Because you've got your first gym. You get to walk in there and see the results of what you're doing.
I would say more so.
Awesome.
It's just made me a happier person. I can't tell you what it's like, what it feels like to be, doing concrete and starting to hate it and having to do that. And it's extremely stressful. I can't, like, I can explain it to you, but it's still like on another level of how stressful it is, how like I became angry all the time. Right. It's not the healthiest in the world. So, so much time is involved. You don't get your workouts in all the time, things like that. So everything kind of spirals backwards. It's very much a young man's game, right? And so as you get to a certain point, you just don't feel like doing it, but you have to out of necessity. And that can create some animosity towards what you're doing every day,
like
right?
Friction, right? Yeah. Like I always tell people at Discovery Day, or when I talk to them, I'm like, look, I don't think it was until later in life that I realized what a gift it was to wake up every day and put my feet on the floor. And whether I was working in my gym when I first opened it to what we're doing now, I've never had any stage where I wasn't like totally excited when I woke up in the morning, which is really a gift. I mean, I'm really lucky to be able to say that. Because there's a lot of ways to make money, and some of the similarities, like you mentioned, SOPs and all that. But if in fact the business itself is not enjoyable, it makes it way harder. I can imagine. That's what we hear anyway. So
concrete was out of necessity. Alloy is because I want to.
Yeah, love it.
It's fun, and I love it.
Love it. That's awesome. Well, look, man, I don't know what else I can ask you. It's like, I'm so proud that you're in the brand. I really do appreciate
Thank you. I appreciate that.
If you gun to your head, you have to sing karaoke, what's your song?
Oh man, probably a Kenny Chesney song.
Really?
Yeah,
which one?
Yeah. So my daughter and I like the one where I forget what it's called now. Dang it. But where she's going away, There Goes My Life, I think is what it's called.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's sweet, dude. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, and once again, your family's great. Your son's amazing. Props to him, by the way. Make sure you tell him that we see him losing weight. And
I'll make him watch this. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it'll be on YouTube, whatever, in a couple of weeks out, and Spotify and everywhere else. Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate you taking time to come on. And we appreciate you as a good franchisee, and you're just an awesome dude around. So we're proud to have you in the brand, man. I mean it.
Thank you very much. So you have to tell us now what would be your karaoke song.
I'd probably do something Johnny Cash, so I could just talk.
There you go.
I think Johnny Cash does more talking than singing.
Yeah.
And I do not have a singing voice.
I don't
to my
either.
chagrin. If I did and I could play guitar, that's probably all I would do. I'd be a total bum. I'd be the guy on the street corner with a little hat out front, just so I could play and sing. It's such a cool talent. I took guitar lessons for a while. I was terrible at it. To be honest, I didn't really apply myself.
I got small fingers. I can't.
Well, I think my challenge is I was taking Spanish at the same time. And so it was like too much creative stuff for my brain. Everybody at the office here was like, what are you starting, a mariachi band? You're doing guitar and speaking Spanish? I'm like, I might, but neither one stuck. So it just goes to show you maybe one thing at a time.
Yeah.
But anyway, we share cars, bikes, the whole deal, right?
Absolutely,
we share all
yeah.
that. So anyway,
it's always a good time when I come up here.
That's right. Well, next time you're in, give me a heads up and I'll get you a bike and we'll go ripping through the mountains.
That'd be fun. That'd be great.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, appreciate you coming on.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Cool.